it should be like the Arab countries. They just start cutting shit off, to be totally honest, of that man. Any man that forces any woman to do anything, they should treat them like they treat them in the Arab countries and just start cutting shit off. From their fingers, to their hands, to their feet, to their genitals, to their head. You know what I'm saying? So now, another thing of it is that how low do you have to be where you're gonna put somebody on a jet and fly them all the way to New York, to the studio? To me, bro, to be totally honest, it sounds kind of fishy to me. I can't, but and then it came from Hard Pierre. The Hard Pierre I knew back in them days was a cornball that did everything Puff said. You know what I mean? Like he was one of Diddy's highest dick rides. That's some real thirsty, desperate shit for them to fly a 17-year-old girl, you know, on a G5. They was flying G5 and G4 jets back then. All the way to New York to gang rap her in the studio. Man, I wish I could give them their punishment, if that's true.
Yeah, that's what she said, man. She said that Diddy, he flew her to New York, took her to the studio, gave her drugs and game. And there's pictures online too, so she was at his studio, Daddy House. So, I mean, she ain't lying about that. She was there, man.
Well, if anything, at that time, if anything came from Detroit, it was one of Puff A&R. They called him Slam. He was from Detroit. He used to set up everything, you know, for Diddy. The time I told y'all about Diddy getting the fellatio when Jennifer Lopez was upstairs, Slam set that up. You know what I mean? So if it came from Detroit, it probably came from Slam. Because he was another one of the dudes that was a flunky around there. You know, but it's crazy, man. I really don't. I got daughters, man. I have words. I don't have words for that, bro. And I don't know any of the guys who were officers that worked for Bad Boy like myself would allow that shit to happen. They wouldn't allow that shit to go down. Puff and them, they know what to do with certain people around. You understand? When they got those dudes who was, you know, from the hood and they was doing bodyguard work and they was doing stuff like that, they made it. But I don't know any of the officers that I knew that was working for Puff would allow any of that shit to go down.
He went on to talk about how Diddy always seemed to be a little cautious around him.
That shit was crazy, bro. To do that to that little girl. But she's got to prove it. And she has to prove it by saying this. She has to tell, she cannot come out and say that this happened to her 20 years ago and she never told nobody else. Or she never tried to do something, you know, about it. She had to tell somebody 20 years ago, yo, when I was there, they did this to me. She had to write it in a diary or something like that, you know, and she had to prove to the court that this actually happened to her.
Right. Are you familiar with Daddy House?
Am I familiar with it? Am I familiar with it? Yeah, 44th between, was it 8th, 7th and 8th? Yeah, between, I think 8th. 8th is going, that way is going down. Between 7th and 8th, yeah, I'm familiar with Daddy House. Yep.
Was he known for having relations with females at his studio? Did you know about it?
It never happened on my, I never seen him work, I never seen him mess with anybody on my watch at Daddy House. It was always business. When I went to Daddy House with Puff, it was always business. You know what I'm saying? We'll be coming from a club or something like that. He wanted to check on the artist, he wanted to check on the song and stuff like that. Or he'll have Ms. Lopez come over, or he'll be checking on some music or whatever like that in the studio. It was always business when I was over there with him. No, now sometimes you get the groupies and the girls come up in there and stuff like that, but Puff never did none of it. Puff never did none of that shit around me.
Diddy responded to the lawsuit on Instagram, vehemently denying the allegations and accusing his alleged victims of seeking a quick payday. He declared his intent to fight for his name, family, and the truth.
And you know, Cassie, she also alleges that, you know, while she was having sex with these male prostitutes, her, the male prostitutes, and Diddy, they all wore masquerade masks.
He didn't want her to know who they were. So if she ever wanted to do what she just did,